I'm going to read to you a poem I wrote called Devil's Postpile, but first I want to talk about it a little bit in relationship to my friend Pat McCaig's video. Mathematicians and scientists, in addition to the practical applications of the work that they do in our daily lives, they give us insight into some of the bigger mysteries of life, of the universe, of the forces that are at work in our lives. And for me, someone who's not a mathematician or a scientist, I'm looking at elements of nature, things in nature, or things in relationships between people that kind of mimic or mirror the kinds of insights that that scientists and mathematicians talk about in their work. And I like to think that they are trying to give us insight into some of the bigger mysteries, and I think we can also find those insights in kind of everyday objects that exist in our own world. They give us hints of what I like to call the known unknown. That is, there are things that we intuitively understand about the way things work that are just slightly beyond our grasp, just slightly beyond our understanding, but nevertheless, we know that there's something going on. My wife and I were hiking in the Eastern Sierra. We spent a day in the Mammoth Lakes area, and we went to the Devil's Postpile. And I'd never been to the Devil's Postpile and Devil's Postpile National Park before. And so I was fascinated to find out that all of the formations there were in the shape of hexagons. And to me, the hexagons represent obviously a mathematic formula, but they also, the fact that they are exist in nature the way that I found out at Devil's Postpile, not just there, but also in other areas of life, and actually extraterrestrial life, or extraterrestrial representations of hexagons. To me it was exciting, and it was another one of those glimpses of the known unknown, one of those experiences that thrilled me to think that there was something like a shape, like a hexagon, that showed an interconnectedness among things on this planet and beyond. So here's the poem. It's called Devil's Postpile. Hexagon, a polygon with 6 edges and 6 vertices. The total of the internal angles of any hexagon is 720 degrees. As if these terms, hexagon, polygon, angles, vertices, could capture the beauty of the ancient basaltic rocks in Devil's Postpile National Park, tumbled in a jumbled heap like the ruins of a Greek temple at the bottom of a monolithic cliff, each with its 6 sides reflecting light and shadow, a timeless geometry beyond imagination. Atop the vertical columns, perfect hexagonal tiles, smoothed and polished by eons of rain, wind, and sun, locked together like nature's dance floor, inviting a slow waltz of awestruck wonder in the cool breeze of a Sierra morning. And what of the rock's hexagonal cousins? Honeycombs, soap bubbles, turtles' backs, cloud patterns on Saturn, evidence of cosmic cooperation, a universal sharing of perfection, meant to dazzle and tease our finite minds that sing to praise the music of infinity.
I think Will Jones is right. Sometimes the mathematical terminology and figures and equations that we use to describe the world around us really don't convey the magnificence of what we're seeing. I had an experience similar to Will's that I want to tell you about. I went to an opening for an artist named Michael Fisher, and I was really intrigued by what I saw. Let me show you. The show was called Beauty Beneath Our Feet, and the artist is Michael Fisher. Here's one of his pieces. It's a photograph. And you can see it's called Lilies of the Water. Here's the lilies, and you can also see his shoes in the photograph. So he's taking this photograph, he's looking down as he does it. Here's another one, very similar. You can see his shoes in the photograph again, and he's looking down, and this is a photograph of what he sees. So I asked myself, what do we have in mathematics that describes a situation similar to what Michael Fisher is describing with his photographs? And so the first thing I thought of was gravity. Here's the equation that tells us how stuck we are to the Earth. It's this constant g, the product of these two masses divided by the distance between them squared. It's called gravity. Pretty important idea in mathematics and science. It's one of 4 fundamental interactions between things in the universe. The others being electromagnetism, the strong force, and the weak force. So as important as it is, though, does it really convey to us what the experience of standing on the Earth is like? I don't think so. What is that experience like, standing on the Earth? Well, we all know it's just like this. We're standing on the Earth, and this is what that experience is like. But when we see it through an artist's eyes, it enlarges our view of things. It makes us see things a little bit differently, and we're a little bit more excited about just standing on the Earth. Let's go back to the computer. I'll show you a couple other things. Just to reinforce how important this formula is, here's a postage stamp from Paraguay about Isaac Newton, who's credited with discovering the formula for the gravitational force between objects. Here's that formula right on the postage stamp. Here's another postage stamp from Bulgaria, and if you look down here, here's that same formula, K times M divided by R squared. A little different notation than we use, but still the same formula. So that formula, as important as it is, really doesn't convey what the experience of standing on the Earth is like. I think Michael Fisher's artwork adds a dimension to things that we don't normally think about. So let's go back and look at a couple more pieces. Here's another piece. You can see his feet are right there, and this is what he sees when he looks down. Another piece. So a couple other things I find interesting about Michael Fisher's work. I need to look down to be reminded that I'm actually grounded here on the Earth, that I have a foundation on which to go about my business. And most of the time I'm in motion. I'm going here, I'm going there, I'm doing all kinds of things. But every now and then if I stop and I look down, I find out that I'm right here, right now. In a way, it's kind of a mindfulness thing to realize that you're right here, right now, and that you're grounded on the Earth. The other interesting thing about this is that if it wasn't for his shoes being in the picture, I wouldn't know that that photograph was a photograph of him looking down. So those shoes in the picture really give me a good perspective on what's going on, and I know what he's looking at then. He's looking down. So what's the point here? Well, for me it is that sometimes poetry and art are better at describing this experience of what it's like to be a human being walking around on the Earth than the descriptions that we get through mathematics and science.